Hey guys, it's me as per usual. I'm here back playing more Choice of the Deathless because the first video actually got a fairly good amount of reception from you all, and I really appreciate that. And I actually have background music now because I don't know, it should be interesting, and hopefully you can hear me over it. I think you can. I tested the audio like literally about 2 minutes ago to make sure you could hear me in the recording, and it sounded alright, but hopefully. Anyway, I'll get a link in the description. It's royalty free, so copyright, all that stuff. Alright, so back to the game. Interlude. Broken. The image slips and fades, but the blood remains. You are more than you were, or at least you remember more than you once remembered. You're still falling in pieces in this darkness from which you cannot return. More sparks and slivers of falling memory tumble around you. You grope still for memories, for changes. You passed your first year at the firm. Little decisions altered your world day by day. What changes do you grab out of the cascading broken mirrors? So I can either move to a new apartment, change how much I saved, or not change anything because I do not currently have enough to pay off my student loans. But you know what? I kind of like how things are going right now. Maybe I'll move closer next time, but not yet. I want to continue on, maybe pay off my debt. So let's go with that one then. Heck yeah, who needs to? Actually, no. I'll go ahead and do that now since I accidentally clicked that. After an exhaustive and exhausting search, you found a nice apartment near the office. Expensive, but at least it's close. What changes do you grab out of the cascading broken mirrors? It didn't change anything more. And so you reach for another shard of your spinning mind, another reflection of a screaming face you barely recognize as your own. You stand in a dark room and set a glowing pentacle and hold a knife of lightning to your wrist. Somewhere a clock strikes midnight. You hold back a yawn. Too much work. Too much work recently. Always too much work. Anyway, it's time to work, as always. You press the knife into your skin. A drop of blood wells up. You pull the blade away, and the blood drop falls, round and reflective to the floor. And when it splashes there, you fall too. You fall into the world of gods. The material realm breaks around you, and for a moment you feel yourself a gnat passing through a beam of light, revealed to enormous beings who normally would not notice something so small. But in this instant, the exposure, they might well reach out and destroy you for their own amusement, or only to pass the time. You leave the light and find your destination. You hover before a wall woven by spiders out of silver webs. Most of the patterns are abstract, but a few resemble faces, the faces of people you know, screaming. This has been the last 3 months of your life. Transdimensional Thaumaturgics, your client, contracted with the Demon Consortium of Akragath, if you remember that from the first episode, to build an enormous hydro project in the southern Catholic jungle. The demons then claimed the project was as much their property as TT's, and would give them a foothold in your world, a territory through which they could pass at will from their reality into yours, unlimited by the bonds of a summoning contract. They would stride across the earth like gods. Obviously, this is a bad outcome. You've been tasked with document review, minor ward maintenance. How have you been handling these responsibilities? I'm gonna go ahead and work together, strengthen numbers, based on seems what I've done, and I don't really want to go with the same route I did, just because I feel like it. I don't know. I want to keep it different. So, many hands make light work, and one advantage of being with a big firm like VNS, Farkath Nebuchadnezzar Stone. Yeah, I think that's right. VNS is that you have many hands available. Of course, working so closely with others reduces your chance of looking like a hero, but there are more important things than heroism. Success, for example. You spend hours combing through the contract while comparing it point by point to the written descriptions of the deal transdimensional thaumaturgics offered you. This is a bigger version of a classic summoning contract, in the same way a container ship is a bigger fishing boat. The principle is the same, at least. Demons hail from a realm parallel to your own. The logical laws of physics don't bind them. When offering demons a path into your own reality, a good summoner can define their powers to exceed those of most humans. But if demons could pass into your world without a clear contract, they would lack limits, singularities of possibilities striding unrestrained across continents, and singularities are bad. A few demons were unleashed back during the God Wars, and the world still shudders from the consequences. So we review the deal again and again. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, you say the words no one connected with the craft ever wants to say or hear. Huh, that's funny. You barely trust your own eyes. Fortunately, you have another pair to hand. Cass Chen is also working late. Hey Cass, can you take a look at this? She flies over from her portion of the wall. These last few months haven't worn well on Cass. She has dark circles under her eyes, and her face looks strained. What's the problem? You show her. There's a hole in the wall. A tiny hole, but demons don't need much room to wriggle through. We need to tell someone about this, she says, and you nod and rise into the real world. You stumble back into your own skin. Flesh flits tight after freedom, and your wrist hurts like hell. Mouth dry, world whirling, you turn for the door, have to grope twice in the dark to find the handle. You wander down the ghostlit hallway outside, looking for someone, anyone. Soon you find Vega. Halcyon Vega y est a la triste. Elegant, tall, slim, dark-eyed, and vicious. Lately of counsel and rapid climber in the firm, he's in charge of the warding project, among the other things. He seems shaken, perhaps by the look on your face. What happened? We found something. There's a hole in the web, you say. Looks like the contract isn't as complete as we thought. You didn't think that his brow could furrow much deeper. Does it look like the demons know? No. We'll bring it up in the next meeting. In the morning meeting. And Charles, good job. Get some rest, okay? Who needs sleep, right? Fair enough, he says. Well, looks like I need to prepare for the morning meeting tomorrow. See you then. I'm gonna turn this down a bit because I don't know about you guys, but it's really loud on my end, so I'd like to be able to hear. Anyway, hopefully you guys can still hear the music. Otherwise, I'm sorry, there is not a lot I can do. The next morning, you meet the client in a nightmare. It's a straightforward nightmare, as these things go. An immense, scaly, 1,000-footed beast lies belly up. Its able rests on a stretch of its stomach. You and the others sit on the beast's upturned feet. Everyone's here. Damien Stone, the named partner in charge of the case, a heavy, dark craftsman in his late 60s. Vega, in a pressed suit jacket, Cass Chen, and myself. Not to mention the client himself, an executive of transdimensional thaumaturgics, a thin, pale man in a black suit. You know him only as John Smith. The world warps around him, and the stuff of nightmares bends. The meeting wheels through old business to new. Smith watches with cold, black eyes. Seems almost bored, not at all as if your work is the only barrier between his firm and demonic invasion. At last, Stone clears his throat, leans forward in his chair, cracks his knuckles, and asks if anyone has new business. In fact, last night I discovered a weakness in the contract. A minor hole, related somehow to definitions of ownership. I'll send you the details. We will need any documents you can provide connected with this matter. Of course, Smith says. Smith's voice is only so ordinary you don't so much hear his words, so much as assume them. I'll have the document sent. And that's all. No mention of your discovery, no mention of Cass. Across the table, you see Chen swell with rage. Vega has taken your thunder in hers as well. She opens her mouth. I'm gonna correct it myself. You start talking before Cass can speak. Thank you, you say, though nobody addressed you. You keep moving your mouth, and you just keep moving your mouth, and you should be just fine. We were surprised to discover this yesterday. The more information we have, the better. I would have preferred, Smith says, to learn this earlier. But it doesn't press the issue. Stone smiles. You don't know why, and that worries you. Vega, for his part, goes pale. Start the music again. That should have, yeah, Stone, Wakefield. I'm like monitoring these things somewhat. I've gone over all this stuff, I believe. So, back to the game. The nightmare ends, and you, Vega, Stone, and Cass wake in the 40th floor conference room. I don't think that affected my standings with Chen, but then again, I don't entirely know. Wasn't really paying attention to hers. Vega stands, brushes off his jacket, and excuses himself quickly. Cass rises, flushed, obviously struggling to keep herself under control. She rounds the table, but before she can reach you, someone speaks. Mr. Geofrig, I find myself desiring coffee. Would you care to accompany me? It's Stone, and from what you know of partners, this doesn't sound like a request. Of course, sir. Excellent, shall we? He motions you ahead of him. As you go, you see Cass disappear around the corner. She's obviously upset, but what else were you supposed to do? Stone's name is on the front door. Stone leads you out of the building, into sunlight and cool autumn wind. You try, unsuccessfully, to remember the last time you were out during the day. Mystic circles and demonic invasions have become more normal to you than sun. Stone stops at a Muerte Coffee a few blocks away. There's a line straight to the door, and the two of you wait there, not talking. By your estimate of Stone's billing rate, the 10 minutes it takes you to reach the counter would cost something on the order of 3,000 thumbs. You get your coffee to go. So Stone takes a right out of the shop door and leads you further from the office. When he opens the corner, he says without preamble, "So, what do you think of Mr. Vega?" I don't know how to take this. I'll go with that. I'll go ahead and be straightforward. He tried to take credit for my work. You're honest, I see. Most people wouldn't be with me. I don't want to waste your time, or mine. Vega, Stone says, is Nebuchadnezzar's protege, her pet associate, recently raised to council. He wants to join the partnership. This is his first big case. He says this flatly, without accent or anger, and yet, you sense bitterness behind his words. Don't be afraid to defend your own work, Stone says, even if it means fighting dirty. Not everyone at the firm is entirely pleased with Vega's meteoric rise. I'm gonna go ahead and try and sabotage Vega. Stone says takes as long to blink as most men take to yawn. Nobody's saying you should undercut anyone. The very notion's repellent to our general principle of community support. Of course, sir, you say. He finishes his coffee, and the two of you return to the office. Did that? Oh wow, 74. Damn, that's actually really high. Stone doesn't speak more on the way back to the office or in the elevator. You get off on your floor and return to your office, pondering the brief conversation. You're not used to this kind of backbiting in politics. If there was for problems on the farm, people talked them out, or Else, if they nursed a grudge and told no one, they recognized this was damn fool behavior and didn't work to undermine one another. New game, new rules. It must be possible to be a partner in a firm without miring yourself into skullduggery, mustn't it? On the way to your office, you pass Cass Chen's. She's pacing with a sheaf of paper in one hand, but she's not reading the papers. Her footsteps are heavy with anger. She asks her what's wrong. Her office door is open. You slip through and wait patiently. She doesn't seem to notice your arrival, pacing back and forth. What's wrong, you ask? She jumps. Did she really not notice you were standing there? She seems happy to see you. She discards the papers and turns to face you. She smiles, but it's a rueful sort of smile. What do you think? You can tell me. She sighs. Vega's a jerk. He certainly is that. You and Cass trade stories about Vega for much longer than either of you can afford. He sent her a letter at 4 o'clock in the morning with an urgent stamp. He addresses everyone as Sir and uses brutal amounts of pomade in his hair. Before long, you're both in a better mood, good enough at least for work. You sit down at your desk, ponder your pen and your knife and the journeyman craft circle etched into the hardwood. How do you work, knowing all that you know now? I'm going to look for flaws in Vega's work. Vega's sharp, but you have an edge over him in sheer theoretical craft. Do I? Seems legit. This definitely seems legit. You comb through his work, even work that other associates have checked many times and find flaws. Here, a misdrawn circle that might have allowed demons to escape. There, a true name poorly written. A minor provision actually violates metaphysical law in some districts of Southern Cath. All these you find, you send up the chain of command. Vega thanks you for each, but you know he should have caught them before now. And Stone knows too. 3 weeks into your ongoing review of Smith's documents, Cass takes a brief vacation. Her cousin's getting married. I'm so sorry, she says on her way out the door. I wish I could stay. Like you'll miss this. She laughs and leaves. Checking more statistics. Yeah, that's not too bad. You stay later than usual that evening, tying up loose ends. At 10 o'clock at night, you take a break and rise from the desk, leaving a bowl of blood to cool. Your joints creak and crack as you proceed to the break room. It's empty, or so you think at first. You pour yourself coffee, sip it, make a face, and turn. Movement in the dark. You tense at first, then recognize Vega. He leans against the table, coffee mug in hand. The perfect hair looks amused, and there are lines on his face you didn't see before. He looks up, his eyes are vacant. I'll talk to him, but I didn't give him a hard time. Late night, you say, and lean against the table beside him. But you know, if you can't stand the heat, stay out of the hells. He laughs bitterly. It is strange to be exposed, he says. You work, and at a certain point you realize that all your work only gives your enemies more chance to watch you fail. Is that why you took credit for discovering the breach? He shakes his head. Whoever presented the breach was likely to be blamed, both by the partner and by the client, for not discovering it earlier. It is not the way matters should stand, but it's the way they do stand more often than not. That, you say, is kind of a gloss to put on the fact that you stole my work. I don't think it's a gloss, but I may be wrong. You see what happens? One's instinct for self-preservation and self-advancement can become so automatic that one must even doubt one's own good intent. You walk back to your office together in silence. The next day is a weekend, but you're in the office as usual. And as usual, the mail golem shows up at 2 bearing packages from around the world. You receive nothing, but you do hear it scuttle on many legs to Cass's office and set down a heavy package on her desk. When the golem is gone, you step into Cass's office and glance over the package. It's a thick document box marked with the ID glyph of the transdimensional thaumaturgic's case. Several red urgent stamps glare at you from the sides. You open the box. After all, you told Cass you would. As you rip open the parcel, you feel the world grow a step darker, possibly brighter. Something's here, you know it. You spread the papers out on Cass's desk and shuffle through them. Carbon copies of an executive whose name you don't recognize from the TT board list you've memorized over the last few months. But none of this makes sense. But none of it makes sense to you. Something's here. You're certain, if only you could find it. I guess I'm gonna have to ask Vega for help, because I can't not. Vega's here, working through the weekend, like you and like always. You run breathless into his office, interrupting his draft of a summons, explaining what you found. He pages through the contents of the package, and his face pales as he nears the end. This is it, he says. Nothing complex, just a letter from a deposed executive, which claims the dam is a joint project, and says it will offer both our firms a foothold in new territory. And that's all they need. If Ikergath and Glame Transdimensional presented the dam as a joint project, they might push for joint ownership, and from here, he shudders. You have a mental image of demonic hordes sweeping into the deep jungles of southern Cath to breed and grow and infest. I don't know what we should do. This is big. We need it fixed fast. We should call Stone. He seems reluctant. We can fix it together. He nods slowly. A good idea. Together, I can think of a few steps that will help if you would assist me. This would be the perfect place to let him down, but you decided against that already. You nod. Let's go. You can see why Veg is on the fast track for promotion, and it's not just because I need to put the music on again. And it's not just because he had a powerful patron. Overstressed, overtired, he's still a genius. You start to wonder if all he needed was your encouragement. But what the hells? At least it worked. Once shaken out of his distress, Vega moves through the building like lightning spark moves between clouds, swift shining in a flame. He dispatches messages by Raven, Rat, and Nightmare to members of the firm you've never heard of before. He summons dark powers to his beck and call. Glyphs along the length of his body burn with silver flame, and the sclera of his eyes dim to black. You enter the land of the gods again to block up the gap in the contract together. As you carve new lines into the darkness of the gods' domain, you see beyond the gap the riding glass talons of the demon plane, and hear sounds quite like screams. And then at last, you go to notify the client. No nightmares for this, there's no time. And nightmares are too susceptible to observation. The firm keeps a dedicated scrying mirror on the 31st floor, and there you and Vega turn the lights, speak 3 times the secret name of the man called John Smith. Cobwebs brush your face, and he stands before you. Normal as ever, an unassuming man in an unassuming suit with a chilling, angular smile. You watch and learn as Vega presents your discovery. At the solution, at least when set atop all the other work you've done for this afternoon, will see to claim that you kicked this executive out because you discovered he was working against Transdimensional's interest. Incompetence might also work. If we can establish that, then we can minimize the effect of this letter. Her letter, Smith corrects. And that grin, that broken grin, it grows. But you've won, haven't you? The mirror dims and light returns. Vega steps back, sweating, and for a moment, just a moment, he lets himself sag. Human, after all. A human being with a human smile. Drinks are on me tonight. I'll meet you down at CJ's. And he leaves, swinging his arms, jaunty. You turn to leave, But as you go, a glimmer of light from the mirror catches your eye. Smith stands in the mirror, waiting. You feel alone, lonelier than ever, and you would have felt without him here. Ever than you would have felt without him here. What do you want? You say at last. I wonder, he says, how you would describe the inner workings of your team. Stone's suspicious of Vega, but it doesn't hurt us much. A fair report. It's a shame when underlings can't trust their manager. I must discuss this with Mr. Varkath on our next meeting. Don't worry, though. I won't mention that you were my informant. A pleasure talking with you, Smith says. I see you again soon, I hope. And he vanishes, leaving you victorious and alone. You and Vega head across to CJ's together, grab seats at the bar, and toast to success. This world's safe, at least for now. You touch glasses and laugh, and let the last few hours' terror recede. You celebrate the victory in style, motherfucker. With a party to shake the heavens and make the gods complain. And the headache's worth it. Monday morning comes too soon, though, as it always does, especially after a weekend spent working. You pass the morning at your desk, trying to review documents and nursing a cup of bitter, nasty break room coffee. You receive a note from Stone. You may have a future in this firm. See that it's a good one. But after the weekend you've had, you can't summon the strength to care. Damn it. Fuck it. Some of the strength. I saw my relation with Stone kind of dropped by a significant amount, and so yeah. Cass drops by in the early afternoon. How'd it go? You say. Pleasant, seaside, weddings. I didn't miss this place, that's for sure. Glad you think so well of us. So, what happened while I was away? I covered for you. I heard. Thanks, I knew I could count on you. And after everything else, that feels good. You lean back in your chair and spin around to stare at the window over the rolling gray water. Peaking waves spark and glitter in the sunlight only to disappear. Like bits of glass falling through beam of light. Falling into darkness. So, guys, that is it for this episode. It has been a pleasure. If you liked it, feel free to comment and like it and subscribe, etc., etc. So if you would like to do that, the buttons are like literally about 2 inches maybe below the video. So it's been a pleasure. I will see you again for episode 3. Alright, you all have a great day.